Hi Forum, Cheryl, Ritu, good evening. Hi Sam. Hi Sabah. Good evening Mark, Amar. Very nice to see you guys waving back. Apurva, good evening. Hi Forum. Hi Mayur. Hi Viral. Ritu. I get asked to wave at the people who come in earlier. But once the show starts, I feel a little bad that I can't say hi to the rest who come in later on. I'm well, Mayur. Thank you very much. I hope you've been enjoying this series. Welcome, Jonathan, Rahul. Hi, Amar, all the way from Mangalore. Hello Chandani. I was wondering how many people would join us today, this evening, simply because Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman is live talking about the economic stimulus and the package that Mr. Narendra Modi announced yesterday. So I'm just wondering whether we'd have enough of people. But I think it should be done in another 5 or 10 minutes, her show. And then I'm sure people will join us in. Dr. Manoj Chawla, I know I've seen that you're coming. I'll wait another 2 minutes until some more people join in, and then I'll have you join us. Is that okay? John, I wanted to ask you a question, to answer your question. This is live with the club. The club is in Mumbai, and we are an affluent hospitality and recreation club. So this is a series that we do every Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesdays we focus on health, wellness, and on Sundays we have different guests on our show from different parts of the world and our members talking to us about how the lockdown has been treating them. Captain Hegre, welcome. Nice to see you here. Some names are different on Instagram, so I can't recognize you sometimes, so forgive me for that. Roxanne, welcome, good evening, hope you're well. You're welcome, Jonathan. So this Sunday, guys, all of you have been watching and who will continue watching with us. This evening we'll send out the publicity, or probably tomorrow morning. We have with us another wonderful chef from London, and he's a master chef judge. He used to be with us at the club. He was my colleague, and he will be on my talk show on Sunday at 5 p.m. because obviously London is behind us. And some of you who've been members with us for a very long time, and since 1999 maybe, would remember Chef Jolly. He's a very, very jolly good chef. So we'll send you the publicity soon, and then you can join us on Sunday. Thank you, Sam. That's a very nice compliment you're giving me. Hi, Hardik. Hello, Simon. Hi, Sarita. Very nice to see you. Hope you're keeping well. Hi, Kajal and Kanchan. So I think in another minute I'll have Dr. Chawla join us. He is here actually, but I'll get him live here. Until then, you will have to see his face only. Right. So those of you who've been watching the wellness series, the health and wellness series every Wednesday, has it been helping? Has it been good? Are you all liking it? Good evening, Mr. Mishra. If you are, it'd be nice if you put a thumbs up so I know that I'm doing a good job and I can invite some more doctors. Yeah. That'll be good if we have some more people join us soon. Thank you, Roxanne. Yes, that's good. That's good. So next Wednesday, we hopefully have an ophthalmologist. She is Dr. Manke's daughter, Dr. Charu Manke, and we were talking this morning, and we were talking about how much of screen time, how much time we are spending on the screens these days. It's not good for the eyes, and she's happy to come on board and tell us what we should do, how we can look after our eyes during this time. Specifically, she was talking about children. So children are on their laptops or iPads. They're doing online education. So some of the precautions we need to take to make sure that we protect their eyes. So it'll be nice to have her here next Wednesday, and all of you can join us too. That'll be really good. Yeah. Good evening, Prabir. So right, so looks like a good number of people are here. So I am giving Mrs. Nirmala Sitaramanan and some competition, and I can see that we've got a good following here. So we'll have enough people joining us today, right? So I'll get Dr. Chawla here right on. Hi Sneha, welcome. Waiting for Dr. There is.
Hi there, Sarina.
Hello, Dr. Chawla. Good evening. I like your snazzy bike at the back there. Is it real?
On the wall? Oh,
Yeah.
I wish it was.
You wish it was. Yeah.
Greeting to everyone here, actually. Everybody who's joined in and found time to join in, a big hello.
Yes. So people are still signing in. I took a little time to get you in because I wanted some more people to join in and welcome them in. Yeah, but we have some more people joining us. If you recognize some people, of course, you're most welcome to say hi, hello.
Sure. Yeah, I'm getting used to this platform. As I mentioned, I've been initiated on Instagram only just a couple of days back for this program.
Yes.
So I'm getting familiar, and I'll figure it out as to. Hi, I can see Forum Misty saying hello, and hello everyone. Good to have you guys here. And I think this is the probably the only way we can actually correspond and interact now till things improve and all of us can get back to enjoying the club. I think that's one thing which is going to be common amongst a lot of people here, isn't it?
Yes, I'm glad you're on Instagram now. You know, I convinced my 80-year-old mom to get onto Instagram, and she's right here. Hi, Mom. So she's 80, and this lockdown has got her to get onto Instagram. So none of us should have an excuse, right?
No, but it's actually strange and funny. As you said, you got your 80-year-old mom to get onto Instagram, but my 16-year-old would have done everything not to get me onto Instagram. So
of course.
Yeah.
So my daughter said to me the other day, "Mom, you're stalking me on Instagram." So I said, "Well, this is a nice way to know what you're up to, isn't it?"
I guess that's why he never wanted me to get onto this, but
Well, their privacy on a public platform, I would say.
Yeah, but I guess if we get onto Instagram, they'll find another app to move on to.
Move on to, yes. They'll block us out. So, Dr. Chawla, if you could take the camera a little behind, or you could move a little behind.
Mm-hmm. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So tell me what has been happening. Have you been very busy? Are you on the front line with all that's happening with COVID?
So not actually in the front line. I'm not at any of the hospitals which are treating COVID. But yes, we continue to work. So our center is open. The hospitals that we are attached to, we are working there. So as I mentioned, we work as a team. My wife, Dr. Chawla, and myself run the diabetes center, and we work. So our clinic has been pretty much on through the thick and thin of things, and we've been kind of close to the action. There's always some kind of worry that the patients that we see may land up getting the infection or are close to it or are extremely vulnerable. So to say, yes, we've been extremely busy with that. but not working at the COVID hospitals like some of our colleagues are doing, and they are facing the action right in the heat of things much more than we are.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. So tell me, have you been missing your frequent visits to the club? And I know you dine at our restaurants, and you said you play a bit of squash as well.
Oh yes, I think that's one thing which is going to be common amongst a lot of people joined in today is missing being at the club. Yes, I must confess that I am not seen there, and I'm not there during the daytime much, whether it is dining or whether it is using the squash facility or any of that. It's usually post 8 p.m. that I'm there occasionally, but missing that terribly. In fact, for me, a lot of my work, a lot of my meetings, a lot of my medical conferences and lectures would also be arranged at one of the banquet rooms in the club. So invariably would be there a couple of times every week, and I in fact have gone recently. I was missing it so much that I've actually gone to take a parcel from the gate itself. So even though Swiggy and other services were available, I said no. I thought I'll get to go inside at least till that, but no, it was only till the gate that we could pick up. So I'm definitely missing the place. Yes.
Yes. So you picked up the food from the gate of the
from
club.
The main gate. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So we are allowing that. We're allowing people to come in and pick up their home delivery orders or the flavors of the club order. And of course, if you would like it ordered through Zomato and Swiggy, that's possible as well. So that.
Yeah, I believe they started the delivery also as well now. I don't know whether the club itself is delivering. Yeah.
Yes, we are. So we have a little delivery boy who goes on a scooter, and he can deliver to your homes. Yes, of course. So to let everyone know, Dr. Chawla has been a member with us for a very long time now. And last year, if you remember, Dr. Chawla, he helped me actually to start the whole health and wellness doctor series at the club. And I think you were kind enough, you always have been kind enough to say yes to us and to put the whole thing together. And you were a moderator, I think, for our second one or our third one. And I thought it was a very good August gathering that evening, wasn't it?
I think it was a great initiative that you and the club came up with, and I think I was part of the second one, if I'm not wrong. And we had a wonderful bunch of colleagues who joined us that evening, and a great number of members at the club who came in and would love to do anything to get back to that kind of a session at the bar again. Irrespective of what we are discussing, but just the electric atmosphere that we had that evening, I think just can't wait for things to get back to that.
Yeah, I know. And in fact, I remember people coming up to me and saying, can we have this more often? Something like every month. And I was like, I scratched my head and I said, every month, that's going to be quite a task to do. But lo and behold, we are doing this every week now. I'm catching or requesting one doctor every week to come and speak on this platform. So it's amazing. The wish has come true.
I think catching would be the wrong word because it's catching only COVID currently. Yeah, so that's better to stay away from.
Yeah, true. Okay, so I think without much ado, we can start now because Instagram cuts off in an hour's time, and I have to keep an eye on the clock to make sure that we stay within the time frame. So let me formally welcome you and introduce you. Dr. Chawla has practiced as a diabetologist for 20 years, and he's very popular in the western suburbs in the Andheri area of Mumbai. His honest and witty take on health compelled me to invite him today to speak on diabetes and what changes are now available. I think a lot of people are confused about diabetes, don't know what it can lead to. We've heard that it is the foundation of many diseases, and we need to dispel a lot of those myths and understand clearly from you on what to expect in terms of prevention or cure. So shall we start?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me here for this discussion.
Thank you. So our first question goes out to you, where I'm asking you, how does one really get diabetes, and is it on the rise?
So let me start by answering the second part of the question. Is it on the rise? Yes, pretty much on the rise, and the numbers are staggering huge. We talk about global numbers, and we're talking about almost 430 million people with diabetes across the world. We talk closer to home in India, we're talking about almost 80 million people with diabetes already in India that we talk about. So numbers have increased, and so to say, the doubling rate, which everybody keeps reading about now, is getting worse and worse. How does one get diabetes? Well, it is multifactorial. So diabetes, unlike a lot of other diseases, is not a single cause. So it's not, of course, an acute illness that you have one infection or one virus or bacteria causing it. Diabetes or chronic diseases, as we call, whether it's diabetes or hypertension or cholesterol disorder or a heart problem, these are part of syndromes, as part of metabolic syndromes, which have reasons, both environmental and genetic, as causative agents. So when I say genetic, of course, it means some of these conditions run in families, and you have your genes which are predisposed to developing diabetes. And then on top of that, you have environmental factors, and which is probably the cause of the rise that we see. The environmental factors come in sense of the changing lifestyle that we've seen over the last few decades. So whether it is the abundance of food, the lesser physical activity, the more richer food, the more processed food that we talk about, the stress that today's urban life especially brings, the fast-paced life that we talk about, no time to eat, no time to exercise, and always on the run. So simply saying these are some of the factors which probably can be looked as responsible, on top of the genetic predisposition as to why diabetes happens, and also why it is so much on the rise that we see all around us.
Yes, thank you for that. So is diabetes preventable or curable despite people incorporating health checkups and exercise in their regime?
Well, so diabetes, to a larger extent, by maintaining a healthier lifestyle, can be pushed back and can be kept away. Is it completely preventable or curable? My answer is no, and let me explain and elaborate that further. So curable wouldn't be the right word to use for diabetes at all. The word that we use very often for such instances is remission of diabetes. Some may even call it reversal of diabetes. So there are instances and scientific and medical evidence available today that for those who have been more recently detected with diabetes, by restricting their diet, restricting their calorie intake, by undergoing a drastic lifestyle change, by getting into a very regular exercise pattern, de-stressing themselves, meditation, yoga, the right exercise, food, a small fraction of people are able to either not get onto the medications or get off the medications and cause so-called reversal or remission of diabetes, which technically means that they've been off medications and they've been checking everything, and for 6 months at least that their numbers are in the absolutely normal range. So that is possible. Unfortunately, doesn't happen in a large section of people who develop diabetes, but yes, it is possible technically in a very small section of people. Preventable, yes, I think the larger focus today is on prevention of diabetes. So typically, somebody who has a very strong family history of diabetes, somebody who has other health factors like a high blood pressure or hypertension or high cholesterol or dyslipidemia as it's called, or somebody who's obese, or someone who developed a sugar derangement during their pregnancy. So these are all individuals who have higher chances of developing diabetes ahead. And all those individuals, the moment they know that they are at high risk, if they haven't already developed, then preventively getting into a healthier lifestyle pattern, a more focused exercise regime, watching their diet, again, the similar aspects of de-stressing, then by doing that in a significant proportion of people, they can prevent the onset of disease or at least delay it by several years. So yes, by these two things, it's largely possible. But the crux of all of this is purely by simple, basic exercise and principles of dietary management. And I say that because very often these terms, prevention, cure, remission, tend to be unfortunately commercially exploited. So
Yes.
you will see a lot of advertisements and people from around the field wanting to exploit this, and advertisements about come and get your cured or complete reversal doesn't always happen. So one needs to be sensible about what is marketed out there. May not always be something that you will achieve. So
True, yeah. So you are saying if I'm regularly exercising and I'm making sure that I'm eating correctly, not diet, but correctly, I can avoid getting diabetes or delay diabetes. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So
Even if
even if
my dad had it or my mom had it?
Yes. So even if your parents had it by doing this, and that's the best you can do. By doing that, is it necessary that you will definitely prevent or avoid diabetes? Well, it's not a must. So you can only do so much. So if somebody comes up to us and says that my parents had it, and I'll just tell me a way that there's no way I'm going to get diabetes, and whatever is required I'll do. I wish I could have a magic plan and say do this, and you will definitely not get it. So we can only advise in terms of these are the best efforts you do to try and delay or prevent it. But still important that you keep checking, because in spite of your best efforts, if there is the insult happening inside, it's going to come up. And what's important to remember here is actually by the time an individual actually develops diabetes, the process inside, the so-called pathological process inside the body, actually is believed to start at least 8 to 10 years before the clinical onset of diabetes.
I see.
So all those processes which are going wrong, if somebody today is developing it at 50, it's not happened overnight. Sometimes people will say, I went through a period of stress, and whether it was the lockdown or business or whatever, and that's why it's happened in the last few months. Those are only the environmental insults which kind of push it up. But the fact is that all this processes actually started much, much earlier.
Much earlier, right. That's valuable, very, very valuable. So what do doctors anticipate after this COVID lockdown, since people have not been exercising, and also the eating habits have changed? We are at home, we are probably opening the fridge 100 times, putting something in our mouth, you're having your breakfast, lunch, dinner. I mean, there's nothing to do, and sometimes, eating can be an occupation.
So, that's exactly what a lot of my colleagues in this diabetes scientific world also speculate and believe. But I've kind of been thinking contrary and seeing contrary to the same. So absolutely right that the general belief would be that the way things are, stress because of lockdown, the worry, and then being at home, eating much more, and you're seeing all the wonderful recipes and cooking and photographs on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So it just seems that the whole world is eating much better food and cooking much more. But the fact also remains that when we are seeing patients get in touch with us, either it's whether they're coming and seeing us at our clinics nowadays or getting in touch through a video consult or whatever, we're seeing as many people staying under very good control and quite a few even improving on their control. So it does seem that it's going to work either ways, and it completely depends on the individual. So again, everybody who joined in and listening in, probably the message is very clear that for quite a lot of people who have been indulging much more, whose physical activity is extremely curtailed currently, whether it is because of the restrictions all around and lockdown, and those who've been extremely stressed because they're worried about what's going to happen to their work, their profession, their business, their careers, etc. There is a huge possibility that their numbers will increase, and when they start checking, or very soon when they start following up, we may see that their HbA1c, which is the best indicator of their overall 3 months blood sugar control, we may see that HbA1c percentage rising. But having said that, a lot of people actually are less stressed than during their routine life. So for a lot of people who had that stress of number of meetings, travel, deadlines.
So,
Um, they actually are having much more time for themselves than they ever did in the recent months or years. So a lot of people are kind of discovering themselves, so to say. Yes, they are working, but they have time for going for their walk where they have the means to, or going for their exercise. And it's something is a lot of people who are speaking to us, and I tell them, okay, so no walk. But a lot of them are saying, no, we're doing half an hour walk, we're doing 1 hour walk, and we're actually being more regular. Most people are,
conscious, yeah.
they're missing the gymnasium. So most people, no doubt, who are regular at the gyms, I think that's they're missing that. But a lot of others are actually less stressed, finding time for some kind of workouts or exercise, watching the diet also, and they're actually getting to see that the numbers are better. So when all this is over, I think we're going to have a mix of people, and that's what is going to reflect on the individual's nature and how this entire thing has affected them, if at all.
Wonderful. So it's actually benefiting a good number of people who otherwise would have not exercised or got stressed with the travel and with their works and their meeting and the pressure. It's actually doing good to some people. If you look at it, if you do things correctly and if you do things rightly and look at it as an opportunity to get yourself together, isn't it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So I think, for example, I can speak about my fraternity and my doctor colleagues. Clearly, a lot of us are working much less hours than what we were doing earlier, and we're all finding more time, whether it is for household stuff or for a walk or whatever exercise or spending time at home. It's much more relaxed. So I'm sure, and there are many other colleagues and professionals from other segments who are experiencing and enjoying the same aspect. So we're going to actually see things change for them, and a lot of them being largely de-stressed, their numbers should be coming down as well.
Yes, and hopefully they'll continue that lifestyle and find time to do that, what they've been doing now.
Very interesting, Sarina, because a lot of people that I've spoken to have suddenly been saying, you know what, once this is over, I'm never going back to my old hours. I'm never going back to my, I'm going to change things. Everybody's saying that, but I don't know if it's going to happen actually. But yes, a lot of people are actually saying that we want to, that's it. We worked enough. Now we want to just work so many hours once this is over and get into all the other activities that's possible. True.
Yeah.
So the club is going to be more crowded. Sorry.
I would love to work remotely from home and talk to all the members like this and go for all my meetings from home, but I'm not sure my boss will allow that.
Check with him, yeah.
True. So, we were having a conversation the other day and you said to me, it's not all that bad to have diabetes. And when you said that, I was like, I perked up a bit. I said, what are you saying? Could you unpack that for me? And you said there may be a silver lining and I'll talk about it when we get on. So, here's your chance now.
So, yeah, so of course, I'm not saying that somebody developing diabetes is great news and start distributing sweets and have a party for the same.
Have a party, yes.
Yeah. But what I was trying to reach out, and the message through this is, what we do see that people who have diabetes and persons with diabetes who are taking treatment and who are seeing their doctors and specialists for the same, very often are guided in a way that all their periodic tests are recommended, and those who are following it are doing that. So yes, they do develop diabetes, they have their numbers going high, but a lot of them then realize that they have to make changes. So whether it changes to their lifestyle, watching their diet, getting into some walk exercise pattern, and more importantly, they start getting screened for their other health issues. So suppose somebody develops diabetes today at the age of 35, 38, and unfortunately, it's not uncommon at all. People at this age, 30, 35 today developing diabetes is all around us. So they are advised to undergo their regular checks, be it their heart function, their cholesterol, their kidney function, their eyes, and so on and so forth. And as a result, what does happen is a lot of people with diabetes who are under good control and who are following up actually are kept under a proper check, be it with medications or other lifestyle advices. So if there's something which is coming up, say their cholesterol is improper or they have a heart issue, purely by the benefit of being checked, by being a person with diabetes, they have there is this possibility that if there is any problem which is unseen earlier, it tends to get picked up and it can be prevented from turning into a bigger issue.
problem.
as
Yeah.
opposed to somebody else that we hear every other day who did not have any illness, so to say, and just landed up with a huge, massive heart attack, and we lose him or
Yeah.
her on the spot. So
Yeah.
as contrary to that, that somebody just not got themselves checked. That's the only advantage I'm talking about. That somebody with diabetes is ideally getting all their checkup done. So I would like to believe that somebody with diabetes is at least guided the right way, that they're getting all their periodic checkup done to ensure that they're staying in the pink of health.
Yes. So it is one step towards finding out if you have something other, if you have other things going on, and that kind of helps you to deal with it much in advance rather than finding out, oh gosh, he died of a heart attack, and if we only knew, we could have sorted it out
Exactly.
earlier.
Absolutely. So that's the idea of saying that it's not all bad.
Sorry, I lost you for a little while.
Right.
Yeah, I lost you for a little while, but carry on.
Something to, which is why that's the only silver lining, if at all. Otherwise, yes, everything that one can do to stay healthy and avoid any of these chronic diseases is the ideal recommendation.
Yes. Before I get on to the next question, I have some more members joining in. So I want to say welcome to Jatin. I want to say welcome to Mr. Anil Dang, Bhupali, Karishma Lele, and Mrs. Pandya. I think I just saw them joining in. People are joining in later. Maybe they were watching Mrs. Nirmala Sitaramanan. She's done with it, and now we're on here.
No,
so
if somebody's watched that, ask them to type a little summary of the same and send it here, so we also know what she said.
So we also know what's happening. Yes. Yeah. Okay. For the audience, you will have questions for Dr. Chawla. Can I ask you to please hold on to those till we finish? We have another 2 questions to go, and then we'll open the Q&A because otherwise your questions will roll up and I won't be able to find them once we start the Q&A. Okay, so that'll be great if you could do that. So the next question is, what do you mean by good diabetes control?
Okay. So,
is that related to what you said before?
Sorry, is it related to?
To what you said before?
Yeah, so one of the aspects or one of the parameters I mentioned was HbA1c. So let me again say it for the benefit of everybody here. When we talk about good diabetes control, 2 things. So one, when we focus on just the sugar aspect of it, there are 3 parameters that we tend to look at. One is the fasting sugar, and it's a range usually. It's not just an absolute figure. So fasting of anywhere between 90 to 130 milligram person, a post-lunch of anywhere between 130 to 180, and more important than these readings is the 3 months average, what is called as the HbA1c. Right. So that's something which ideally every person with diabetes should be monitoring at least every 3 months, and the recommendation for that is to stay under 7%. So anything below 7% is considered good and healthy. If you can get close to 6.5%, it is ideal. If somebody is elderly and has other medical conditions, then sometimes these targets are individualized. We don't want to push the elderly patients into low sugar, so sometimes we may ease off these targets for them, but that's pretty individualized, which one discusses with their doctors about what is the good target for them. But in general, yes, staying below 7%. Having said that, when we talk about managing diabetes today, managing diabetes is not anymore restricted to just managing the sugar levels.
Right.
It goes beyond diabetes, and what is extremely important today in managing diabetes is also looking at their kidney and their cardiac health, the heart issues. And 3 things simply to remember. The mnemonic that we say is the ABC. And the ABC stands for good HbA1c, that's good A1c as a short form. B stands for good blood pressure control. And C stands for good cholesterol. So it's the ABC of management. If we are able to do that, you're largely staying healthy and within the healthy zone, so to say.
Right. Thank you, Doctor. Last question before we open it up for the audience to ask you questions. Are people with diabetes immunity compromised, and what should they do now to build it up?
Okay, so I think that's a very, very valid question, and a lot of questions and confusion and myths in the current times around that. So let me start by saying that people with diabetes, especially those who had it for a couple of years, and especially if your numbers have not been good, you've not been under great control, your HbA1c has been high, then yes, poor diabetes control or poor metabolic control, as we say, is linked to poor immunity. There are multiple technical reasons for the same as to how high sugars lead to poor immunity. It basically weakens your immune system, your ability to fight the invading bacteria, viruses, etc. So in general, yes, people with diabetes would have poor immunity. If somebody has it for a shorter duration, is under very good control, then there ideally the immunity shouldn't be affected. However, because people with diabetes have poor immunity, in general, there's a belief that they can develop more infections, they can get wounds which do not heal, they may land up with diabetic feet and problems with foot infections and gangrene, and in general are susceptible to more infections, especially like tuberculosis in our country. However, the myth going around has been that people with diabetes are more prone to developing or getting infected by the COVID-19 virus. Now that, let me take the opportunity to clear out and clarify for everybody who's joined in here that from whatever information we have globally and from within India and all the data till date, there's nothing which suggests that people with diabetes are more susceptible or vulnerable to getting infected by COVID-19. So the infectivity or susceptibility is pretty much the same for anybody around, and the same sense of precaution, be it good hand washing, good hygiene, using disinfectants, the basics of disinfection and social distancing is what is going to protect a person with diabetes as much as a person without diabetes. The only connection here is that if a person with diabetes is getting infected by the COVID-19 virus, then unfortunately the chances of this infection leading to a serious complication or even leading to poor outcomes like death and mortality seem to be higher in people with diabetes. So once infected, then the people with diabetes are extremely vulnerable to deteriorate, and hence more care needs to be taken in people with diabetes. But just having diabetes does not make you more prone to develop this or catch this infection, so to say.
Thank you for clarifying that. That was a really good explanation on, how we need to deal with it and how and who should be more cautious and who should be not. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Dr. Chawla. So, are you ready to take questions now from the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're done with our discussion and our conversation, audience. I'm sure you have questions for Dr. Chawla, and we'll give you 1-2 minutes to write out your questions, and I'll read them out, Dr. Chawla. And if you can pick up some of the questions as well, that'll be great.
Sure.
Yeah. I saw one question going up.
So I saw a question earlier which was regarding the right HbA1c for somebody who was 66 years of age. I think that was the question.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I think I partially answered that when I was talking about good diabetes control. So in general, for somebody who's 65 or 70, good diabetes control would still be 7%. That's Mr. Raman who's asking.
Mr. Raman, yes.
Yeah. So it's 7% is what the good HbA1c control is, unless somebody, as I said, has issues with the kidney functioning or a heart issue. Sometimes we may relax those targets, but in general, for somebody at 66 to stay at 7% and below is considered the good target for diabetes control.
Another question from Samir Gupte: is stevia a good supplement for sugar?
Right. So that gets us to the conversation on artificial sweeteners or sugar substitutes.
Yes.
And Samir, let me say that as of now, from again the evidence that we have, stevia, which is the natural stevia leaf product, or sucralose, which is the sugar substitute, the non-caloric sweetener that we have, these two are considered safe as of now. But at the same time, let me tell you this, that for the longest time, if you look into the history of artificial sweeteners, we had other products before. We had saccharin a few years back. Then you started getting aspartame and ace sulfame, which were also used in your Diet Cokes, etc., and a lot of your original sugar-free used to be aspartame. So these earlier were considered extremely safe, but as evidence gets generated after years of usage, then comes the issue of whether these are leading to any kind of cancers, any mental retardation over prolonged usage. So as of now, yes, stevia and sucralose seem to be fine, but we don't know what kind of evidence comes up. So my general advice to patients out there is, if you can avoid any of these, it's best. If no, you do want that little sweetened sensation and taste, then use these, but use it in minimal quantity. Then going overboard with using it few times a day, and then using sweeteners and ice creams with sweeteners, I think then that goes a little overboard and becomes you go into the unsafe territory.
Very valuable. Somebody's asking, should a diabetic patient avoid eating mangoes, and how many can one eat in a week?
So again, no, I think a person with diabetes actually can eat everything, as long as they know they're able to distribute their calories properly through the day. They can always speak to a trained nutritionist, a dietitian who can guide them. But in general, is eating mangoes bad for a person with diabetes? No. It's just that it has to be had in a pre-specified quantity. There are, of course, certain fruits which are high, what we say, in glycemic index. So when we talk about glycemic index, it's actually the ability of a food item to increase the sugar after you have it. So, for example, if simple sugar on glycemic index is a scale of 100, then the other food items would be in comparison to the same. So some fruits will have a glycemic index of just about 30, 40. A mango per se would be much higher. But having said that, in limited quantity to have mango is fine. What tends to happen with mangoes is, because of its taste and because it's so delicious, people tend to go overboard. So we'll have patients who are saying that during mango season, I'm going to eat 4 mangoes for lunch and 4 mangoes for dinner. I mean, that's not unusual. So that's the quantity. Now, it's not mango. If you had 4 of those fruits of any kind, it's going to push up your sugars. But then people don't tend to eat 4 apples at one time, but they will tend to eat 4 mangoes. So that's where we need to be cautious and have that.
Right. Good one. Somebody's asking, can they use jaggery instead of sugar? Can they substitute jaggery for sugar?
Yes. So again, if you just can't do without your sugar, then you could replace. But let's again not forget that sugar comes from jaggery. So sometimes that means that if instead of sugar, can I use jaggery? It's just that sugar is more refined and jaggery is less refined. So lesser impact, but it is yet a similar substance. People also ask the same thing for honey. So again, all of these have to be absolutely restricted. It's not that you can have unrestricted amounts of jaggery or honey as a replacement for sugar.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
Shonali Soni is asking, why is there low sugar in non-diabetic patients? What is the reason for low sugar in non-diabetic patients?
So I'm not sure I'm understanding Shonali's question. So it's not that there is no sugar. Is she asking in the blood or
no? Low sugar in the blood, yeah.
Okay.
Low blood sugar, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm trying to see the question.
Yes. So first of all, low blood sugar. Very often one tends to feel low. So you hear it a lot of times that I'm feeling low and I had a low blood sugar. Let's be clear that this low blood sugar ideally needs to be verified by checking at that point in time when a person says he or she is feeling low. Very often that low feeling can be purely simply because if you have fasted or you've not eaten for a long time, even everybody after a while will get that mild headache and start feeling low because you've not had your energy consumption. But technically, low sugar is when you are able to check and see that it is dropped below 70. Now that very often may happen in somebody with diabetes who's on medications and does not eat on time, and it tends to go low. But in a non-diabetic, there are few causes of low blood sugar, and these are some kind of tumor, some kind of liver dysfunction, some kind of thyroid dysfunction, and a whole bunch of other medical conditions. So if somebody is actually experiencing low sugar, and which is documented, and this is in a person who does not have diabetes, then they ideally need to consult a doctor for the same. so that they can be evaluated of what is wrong and why is it leading to. But it's not a common phenomenon. It can't be just a loose statement. Very often that I went into low sugar. That very often means that you were just hungry and you didn't eat for a long time, or you exercised more, and so obviously you were low on energy.
Got it. That's a good one. Somebody's asking, can children prone to get this disease? Forum mystery.
Yes, I can see that. So forum, yes, I think probably my mistake. I should have clarified that when we speak in general about diabetes. So there are different types of diabetes. The commonest are actually three types, what we say. One is type 1 diabetes, which unfortunately very often predominantly happens in children. So we have children who maybe as young as 4 years, 5 years of age. The larger numbers are usually between 5 to 12 years of age is when this kind of diabetes develops. So type 1 diabetes is a condition where the individual's pancreas tend to get destroyed because of a process called as autoimmunity. So your body's own immune system does not identify your pancreas as your own and destroys it. These children with diabetes, even when they grow up, throughout their life, they are dependent on insulin for treatment and for survival. So that is a more severe form of diabetes called type 1 diabetes. But yes, today the treatment and technology for the same is allowing us to treat our type 1 children extremely well, so that they're able to lead their lives just as normal as anybody else. I'm sure we will have some of our children even at the club, and we may not be aware they're doing their activities, their sport, everything just as regularly as anybody else. So that's the type 1 diabetes. The predominant form that we see all around us, 95 to 98% is type 2 diabetes, which earlier used to start at an age of 50, 60. Unfortunately, we see that kind of diabetes today starting at 25, 30, 35. And finally, the third is the one which develops during pregnancy, which is called as gestational diabetes. So today we see that on the rise again because of late pregnancies, because of sedentary issues, because of weight issues, and also because a lot of IVFs, a lot of in vitro fertilization procedures which require hormonal support for those pregnancies. As a result, we see a lot of diabetes in the pregnancy on the rise. So the first time if diabetes is detected during pregnancy, it's called as gestational diabetes. So those are the three essential forms of diabetes. Yeah.
We have another question here. Grapes and dates are not good for diabetics, or are they all right in moderation?
So I think my answer remains the same as I said earlier. Everything in moderation is all right. Grapes, yes. So it's just that you have to have your fruit exchanges balanced out. Your one fruit exchange, if it's one orange or one apple, it would mean it is 10 to 12 grapes. So you need to balance it out and have that. So it's only about when you overindulge onto that and you like it too much, that's when it leads to trouble. So otherwise, neither grapes nor dates, they're not bad at all.
Yes. So the golden rule is everything in moderation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I think we'll take one last question, and this is trying to read this. Up to what sugar level fasting and post lunch is normal in type 1 diabetic?
Okay, so I think that's a very, very specific question, and my answer is going to be there is no, especially in a type 1 diabetic, it's extremely variable and brittle. Especially in children, their sugars can vary within a matter of few hours from 70 to 400. So there's always a range for people with diabetes, especially type 1. There is no specific sugar which is right for them. And more importantly, again, in people with type 1 diabetes, it's the HbA1c. So that's the same number. They try and keep your HbA1c less than 7%. Today, for people with type 1 diabetes and in general, for type 2 diabetes, we have much better means of monitoring sugars. So what we use at our center very, very regularly is something called as continuous glucose monitoring. These are small sensor patches which are just stuck to your arms, and they continue to monitor your sugars every 15 minutes. So today we are able to track sugars of our patients on a continuous basis much regularly. For the patient also, it's for all of you, it's a great learning tool to see how your sugars are behaving and moving through the day, how a particular food item impacts it, how your exercise is helping you. So technology today, like in every field, is helping us handle and manage our patients' diabetes much more. And that, in fact, would have been a crux of today's conversation as well, as I think the topic kept was going ahead, what's changing. So I think technology coming in into diabetes big time through means of these remote monitoring through apps. So a lot of apps to be downloaded today, which helps you connect with your physician and doctors, which reminds you of your wellness, your exercise. All of this is going to be important going ahead, because it's important to remember, even after this lockdown is over, for quite some time, it's not going to be the same for all of us. So even when you're going to be visiting your doctors, there will be spaced out appointments. There will be, a lot more consultations happening on video calls, where your physical presence is not required, especially for diseases like diabetes. So a lot is going to be on the usage of technology, and that's something that we'll all have to adapt to moving ahead here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. And I'm being prompted that we are nearing our time slot. Yeah, the end of the session, and I think what you've said today is so helpful. And for all the audience here, we are recording this session. The recording will be available on the Instagram handle for another 24 hours on the Club Mumbai. After this, it will be available from tomorrow on the app and on our YouTube channel, and available also if you message me or message one of us, and we can send that to you. So this is very valuable, Dr. Chawla. I'm going to hear this all over again and make my own notes for myself.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right. I hope you've enjoyed being here and doing this session with me. I know we've had so many conversations and apprehensions of how it will work, but I hope you've been happy with how it all went.
I did. I thought one of the reasons of being here was I thought you were going to announce that yes, starting Monday the club is opening and we can all get back. So that was.
I wish, and it would be wonderful, really. But I have a bit of news that the bakery might be opening very soon. So it's very ironical talking about all these things that we have to be careful about, and then the bakery is opening very soon.
Sure, that's good news, and looking forward to the open spaces back for us very soon again. Thank you all for joining here, and thanks for having me here again at the club.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Chawla. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.